Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of I'm No Expert, the podcast about everything and nothing. I am Jason. I am here, as always, with my co-host, Ben Hardy. What's up, boss? Good to see you in the Metaverse.
Good to see you in the Metaverse. I'm not ready.
For the podcast?
No,
or the Metaverse?
I'm not ready. I'm ready for the podcast. I'm not ready for the Metaverse.
Oh, I don't think anyone's ready, Ben. Maybe some of those kids are.
We're doing all right. So we're on a little roll here. So last episode was the NFT. The two old men trying to be convinced that the NFT was the future, and now trying to be convinced by a younger man that the NFT was the future, and now the two old men are back, trying to convince one another that the Metaverse is also the future. And in fact, the two are inextricably linked, aren't they? NFTs.
Indeed, they are.
The Metaverse. It sounds like real estate that you buy in the Metaverse is essentially an NFT. And like any element inside the Metaverse is also like your avatar is technically an NFT.
And by NFT, you mean just total BS.
Yes. Oh. Yes, a digital property that is linked to the blockchain. I'm not sure if that's the right verb. Recorded, logged on the blockchain. Anyway.
See, I mean, I think this whole blockchain concept is just a way to like rationalize and codify something that doesn't exist. Like, it's just a word that gets thrown around, and you're like, yeah, but it's the blockchain, and it's like, well, it still is not a thing.
Yeah, I think the blockchain is really underpins this concept of decentralization. I mean, we're jumping ahead, but that's okay. And that I think is what got and continues to have people excited about cryptocurrency, is that it is quote unquote decentralized. It's not run by central banks. It's a decentralized currency, and therefore the power is with the people.
I mean, and to summarize, at least in my opinion, the blockchain is basically just a distributed accounting system.
Yeah, I think that's a great way of.
I mean, no one controls it. It is just a record-keeping thing.
Yes.
Where you can, I mean, there are records. You can determine something's provenance and authenticity and history.
Correct.
Which in some ways, like, well, eventually somebody will figure out how to counterfeit it. But I mean, you know, like if you have a piece of art or something, is it authentic, you know, with anything that is stored in the blockchain? I just feel dumb saying that out loud.
You actually sound smart. You sound smart.
Do I look dumb?
You sound smart.
It's a good thing this is a podcast. Yeah, totally lost my point. That's how that works.
Stored in the blockchain.
Stored
in the blockchain.
Oh, yeah. So you can just look it up, presumably with the click of a button, which, okay, you know, that's cool. But, I mean, so I feel like broadly with the Metaverse, and maybe crypto to a certain degree, I mean, you're paying for something that does not exist in the physical world, right? So, I mean, video games have been doing this for ages. I mean, you cannot even play a game on a mobile device, you know, 80-20 rule, where it's not going to offer you or make an offer where you can buy something virtual with real money.
Yes.
Correct. Right, like skins for your avatar or like special rare items or whatever it is. And I mean, that's one of those things when I started out in this, what is that kind of gaming even called? Yeah, I haven't had enough coffee yet, Ben.
The MMO, the massive multiplayer online? Like RPG?
No, just those pay to play games on mobile. What is that called?
Sure, like the freemium.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
We'll edit this out. It'll be fine.
No, we won't.
No, we never do that. Anyway, this has been going on for a long time. It kind of took my brain a while to wrap around this whole thing, and I still haven't wrapped around it. And even when my son is playing Minecraft or something, he's like, "Oh, can I, Roblox? Can I have some Robux to buy like new clothes for my character?" And I'm like, "No, because it doesn't exist."
You are a terrible father.
Well, okay. Here's the thing: what I miss are games where you earn things.
Yeah.
So, like, I get that you can buy things now, and that is like the predominant mechanism. But that's just a way for companies to get your money,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
mean, these games are like free to play, but if you want to be competitive or have the cool stuff, you have to pay real money.
Yeah. Don't hate the
And you don't
player,
you don't
hate the
like
game
earn it
creator.
anymore. And like, what kind
Totally.
of lesson is that, Ben?
Totally. That was a split. My understanding anyway was that caused a sort of schism in the players. And I might be wrong here, but players who were into games, some of these are like maybe the Call of Duty games or maybe even Fortnite, where you did have to earn, the weapons, access to better
Right.
weapons. And you did that by putting the time in. Once those games changed and you could just skip levels and then acquire these weapons just by dumping money
Yeah.
into your account, I think it created a schism. And some players were like, I don't want that. I'm not into that. I want a game to force you to earn it. And I don't know where we are now. I don't know enough about some of these more popular games. I think Fortnite's star is sort of faded, but and I'm not sure like if you can just dump money. I don't think Fortnite really works that way. Actually, I think everyone's really on a level playing field when you drop in. You all have the same access to the same stuff. Nobody, just because you're at a different level, doesn't give you. It just gives you access to different skins,
Yeah.
which is a sort of prestige thing. And I'm starting to come around again just through seeing Gary Vaynerchuk on my my social feed, because he's all about NFTs now. I'm really starting to come around on where the value is, and that value is entirely in the community who decides that they value this thing. And
That's like everything,
that
including real money.
well yes and no. I mean, real land, like property, seems to have has value because you can build a house there, you can extract resources. This is by the way, very capitalist mentality. And I don't necessarily subscribe to this, but our current system would argue that a plot of land has real value because you can farm it. You can grow food on it. You can take water from it. Water and food are necessary to survive. A structure is necessary to give you shelter to survive the elements. There's actual value in that as it pertains to your survival as an individual and your ability to like propagate the species.
Well, isn't that all bound up in the fact that it's finite?
That's a great yes. It is finite, and so is something like gold, which doesn't really have a value as it pertains to our ability to survive. Like we can't eat gold, can't drink gold, you can't build out of gold. However, we've assigned it a value because it was it looked nice, and it wasn't so readily discoverable or accessible in maybe Europe, but it was when they started exploring the New World. They found a lot of civilizations that had this beautiful metal, and then they found value
we
in
should
it.
take it from them.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, and so now gold has sort of stood that test of time. But if
But
you
so that is finite because of presumably supply. Yes.
yes, yeah. Yes, and then you build these other currencies, and they're sort of the value of those currencies is based off of like gold as a standard, and then that shifted to the U.S. dollar is now sort of the standard, and who knows what it will be moving forward. But even those currencies, like a government can just print more money.
I
Which
think that's an interesting middle ground because I mean there used to be a gold standard which then was finite, right?
yeah,
I mean
arguably yes.
you would have to have an amount of gold, the government in Fort Knox to cover the amount of paper money that existed. But I forget when that went away, but it was decades ago. That is not a thing anymore. So paper money only has value because we agree it does. And its supply is no longer finite because, like you just said, and like the US has been doing for the last few years. We're just like printing money.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, I think that's the middle ground. Having something that is actually finite is sort of the first layer, like land. And I mean, okay, we could go to other planets and that sort of thing, but it's really hard to make more land at this point. There's the money thing, the gold standard.
Mm-hmm.
Now money's not tied to the gold standard. And I think on the other end of this are virtual things.
Yeah.
Because they still have value for the same reasons, which is we agree on it. There is presumably scarcity, but there's not, right? It's virtual. There could be as much of it as you want.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, in the case of NFTs
versus finite,
arguably it could be, but in the case of NFTs, these, my understanding again, which is limited, these creators, the people who are creating the NFT, like digital art, only mint a certain amount of, authentic, whatever you want to call them, like truly NFTs. So maybe there's only 100 that are minted. And so only 100 people can own this like new NFT, that the transaction of which and the identity of which is, saved and logged on the blockchain. And so, yes, you could create like a JPEG of that thing, but that's not the same as owning the authentic thing as registered on the blockchain.
Is there anything that prevents the maker from making more? I mean, is that like hard coded into the thing?
That I have to look that up. I think the creator might have the ability to mint more, but then the more of it that exists, the value decreases. I guess I need to understand better the economy of NFTs, both for the creator, like the Beeples, and then the people who end up owning that thing, and then what happens when Beeple decides, or can he even decide to like make more of a certain thing. Now that you strike, you bring up a good point, and that is that in the physical world on planet Earth, land is finite. God bless you, sir. Land is finite. Water is finite. We're not gonna create more of it. We can sort of build up to a certain extent, and that's that. In the virtual space, and God bless you once again, good sir. In the virtual in my throat. in the virtual space, what is stopping? And again, I don't know enough about like how real estate is working here. Arguably, yes, space is not infinite. Nothing is infinite, but certainly closer to infinite than what we have here on planet Earth in the physical realm. So where's the value? How do you assign value? Right now, what I'm reading online as it pertains to the metaverse and real estate, virtual real estate, is that there is a real estate boom happening, that people are spending real money for virtual spaces where they will design a sort of like, a gallery or an apartment looking thing. And then they're hanging their NFTs in their little virtual space. And then they're planning on like charging admission into their hangout place, so you can look at their NFT in their virtual, gallery or whatever, which again, like it blows my mind that we're heading here. And I hope that we sort of pump the brakes. I don't think that that's going to, I'm not sure that that's going to happen. I'm starting to understand it because people are into it. People want to spend time in this virtual space. They want to explore it. It's the same sort of innate urge to explore that led us west, that led people across the ocean, and then led pioneers west, for better or for worse. For worse for a lot of people. But it's that same thing. Like, here's an unexplored territory that we're building as we're exploring it. Like, let's go check it out. And I get that. I get that urge.
I get it, but it's also a sham.
I don't see it as a sham.
Okay. I got a question. Okay. How is this different than buying a star or a plot of land on the moon? Because, there are these companies where you can do this, right?
Because you can't, you in your lifetime will never be able to go to the moon. You in your lifetime will never be able to.
You don't actually own it though, because the person selling it to you doesn't own it.
Yeah.
Maybe the moon thing isn't even real. I don't know. But so there are companies where you can buy a star.
Sure.
Right?
I mean, yeah, you look up at that star and you claim ownership, and the people around
That's
you at the
my
party are
star.
like, cool for a second. And then,
And
you
they're
feel
like, you
like,
paid money for that? Because
yeah, you
that's
feel like
dumb.
your status is elevated or something.
But the people selling it to you don't even own it.
Yeah.
But it's something that you buy, presumably. Let's say they do own it and they have actually sold it to you and you have rights to it. Like, it's not something you can ever access.
I think in the three body problem, they were selling planets. They were discovering planets and then selling them.
Yeah.
People could own a distant planet, and then in that book, they had the ability. Some of them had the ability to actually travel to the planet that they bought, which is kind of cool.
That's kind of the difference, though, and I guess that doesn't really pertain to the metaverse because you can virtually go there.
But it's interesting. It's like, who is selling that star to you?
Somebody making real money.
Yeah, they're creating a certificate of ownership and giving it to you, and that's ridiculous. But the differences in the metaverse is that people are putting on goggles and they are spending their time. Their time is the asset that they're trading in. Like, that is the thing that they are investing in this space. So there's real value in owning virtual space there that you will occupy, and then you will have other digital people, like avatars that represent other real people, will come and interact with you, and the audio exchange, like the back and forth conversation, will be real. And so there's value. I can see why
it's
people are rushing to do that.
It's a fancy chat room that you have to pay money for.
That's it. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Like, that is
Does anyone remember what chat rooms are?
Right?
It sounds kind of illicit now.
It's I mean, yeah, we've jumped around a lot.
And I was going to say, this is our most rambling podcast to date.
It's rambling, but we're trying to just get to we're trying to like take bites around this thing.
Yeah.
We're just trying to take bites around this thing.
I do have a question.
Go ahead, ask.
What's the metaverse?
Yeah. Oh God. Do you want to take a stab at answering that? I mean, it's a virtual reality space.
Yeah. I mean, okay. We discussed whether we should have done some research beforehand. The part that I am hung up on, which could be easily solved with a Google search, I'm sure. I'm like, is the metaverse supposed to be a single space? Or is it just is it an umbrella term for an online world? Because everyone's like, oh, it's the metaverse. And I'm like, bro, online worlds have existed for like 20 years. This is not something new or notable.
So here's actually, you're right. It's
like rebanding a crock pot and an instant pot.
This makes sense to me, right? When you go on the internet, who owns the internet? Well, you go to an address, a URL, and you're taken to a site where you experience that site and in all its forms. The metaverse is essentially going to be the same thing. You put on goggles, and now you are sort of logged into the metaverse, and you go to like the Adidas, VR space. You go to Jason Huey's gallery, and maybe there's one, like right now, Decentraland seems to be a sort of a playground, or Sandbox is like almost it's like it's almost like going to a trade show where you drop into the trade show and now you're going to different booths. And
it's space.
It's
people
space.
And companies can fill it with whatever they want. How's that different from a game, an online game? There are lots of different online games.
Yeah, and so that's why, and that's where in our little note doc here, listener, you're getting a glimpse of how the sausage is made. But like sort of entry points cerebrally for me are massively multiplayer online games, which were, dropping into like Call of Duty. You just got a bunch of people dropping into the same place, experiencing each other's avatars in real time and engaging with one another in real time according to the rules of that space. And so that is the metaverse, just sort of writ large, where now, you drop into like Call of Duty and now you're like, I'm sort of done with this. I'm going to keep my goggles on, but now I'm going to head over to like Nike's, whatever their virtual reality space is. And there are people hanging out there in real time. And we're going to sort of do the thing that Nike sets up for us. And now we're going to go over to this new experience. and then you sort of pull back and you go, oh wait, this is just Ready Player One, where you log in to the metaverse. You've put your goggles on, you've put your suit on, and now it's like, where would you like to go? And there will probably be a virtual reality hub, which it feels like maybe the sandbox sort of area is a hub where you interact with all these other people, and then you take doorways, interact with like virtual doorways to go enter whatever experience it is. And that's why when I was reading about how to buy land in the metaverse, and Decentraland is like the virtual reality platform where you can buy real estate. You can start to buy real estate across these different sort of like sub metaverses, I guess, these properties. They say on their about, I'll read it right now. This is where people are going to buy land or rent land. They're talking about renting land in there already, which is
inside.
Crazy. All right. So Metaverse Properties, this is who owns Decentraland, is the first virtual real estate company in the world offering exposure to the burgeoning industry of virtual land via the metaverses. We facilitate the buying and selling of virtual property along with the full suite of services that are provided by pioneers of the blockchain and non-fungible token NFT industry. Metaverse Property has also created the first virtual real estate investment trust to represent the various metaverses that are growing at a rapid pace. We believe Ready Player One will be representative of the future of both business and real estate, and thus the creation of Metaverse Property to support the new frontier of virtual reality. So here is the leader in virtual real estate saying that Ready Player One is sort of their template. That's their guide. That's their guiding light. And so I will say to everybody listening, because there's still friends that I have in our age group who haven't watched Ready Player One yet, that everyone, God bless you, dear sir, need to go watch Ready Player One. And actually, it's funny, Jason, because you and I watched that when it was in theaters. I was out visiting you in San Francisco. We went to a late show.
Yeah. What's a theater?
Goggles, when you put on goggles.
Next time we do this, Ben, we'll go to a virtual theater and we will sit next to each other virtually and watch the movie.
Eating our virtual popcorn. What? So it's crazy. And so and the reason this is a little alarming for me, and I'm going to turn it over to you because I tend to ramble more, is that Ready Player One is a dystopian novel and movie. It is a dystopian world that those people occupy, where they live in like hovels,
For who?
stacked like shipping crates, and they don't really have work or jobs, and they don't really have food, but they exist in this virtual space. They go to their little cramped hovel of a house, of a shipping container, put on their virtual goggles and their suit, and then they go occupy a different existence, and they are sort of blissfully unaware or detached from the declining environment around them because they're sort of happy and entertained in this virtual space. Happy enough. And they spend real money in this space, and there's
Don't they have jobs?
Systems. I guess they have jobs.
They go to school and stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's like literally the real world, but virtual.
Yeah. Yeah. So I looked at that movie and I was like, oh man, like if we further detach ourselves from the reality around us, and that is a sort of declining ecosystem. Say what you will about climate change, like species are going extinct, and we're continually extracting resources from a planet that will no longer be able to support like our species, let alone the whatever it is that we're driving to extinction on a daily basis through our actions. If we further detach ourselves from that reality because we're living in a virtual space, like we're going to accelerate the decline of sort of everything. And that's what scares me about the metaverse, because it's an escape.
You are seeing the metaverse as the problem. The metaverse is the solution.
Convince me.
If you just live your entire life in your shipping container, that is much less resource intense.
You're saying a smaller footprint.
Yeah, smaller footprint. Less consumption, less transportation, higher density is the perfect solution. You'll just have these towers of cells that people will live in.
Cell is the right
word. Where they
word.
won't leave. And drones will bring you your nutrition or whatever. And you can just spend your whole life in your cell voluntarily.
Yeah.
and the whole world will just continue on the outside.
This is
It's also wait. It's also the solution if we turn the world into, a poisoned wasteland, because then you won't be able to leave your cell.
yeah.
So the next best thing is just to plug yourself into the metaverse and not worry about it. So really, it's perfection, if you ask me. It's the ultimate outcome.
Yeah, you should probably work in marketing for the metaverse. Like, this is the spin. This is the kind of tripe/spin that we will be fed as this continues to roll
How is
out.
that not true, though?
It is. You make a compelling argument in that our footprint will certainly be reduced if we are not getting in cars to go places, and our existence is limited now to a single room.
Mm-hmm.
With a functioning toilet. It sounds, and cell is the right word. We all live in these cells. That is 100% the right word. I don't, Jason. Okay. Here's one of my issues is that, I have come to believe more and more as I get older that we are energetic beings, and that we thrive off of one another, sort of like a vibration, a shared sort of energy and vibration. When you are in a room with people, when you are around a fire with people, when you're enjoying a physical experience or in the physical presence of certain people, you feel a certain way because of that proximity to one another. And no virtual experience can replicate that sort of energy sharing and vibration sharing that comes from proximity and closed space. And when we exclude that from our lives on a growing rate, I think we lose the part of ourselves that really make us human, because we are social creatures. We are tribal, clan, social
What
creatures.
makes you human is making money and spending it.
This is, you are killing me on this one. Yeah, I appreciate the devil's advocacy approach, and I'm glad for it. Yeah, that is unfortunately kind of what makes us human now. I just don't want us to sacrifice. Like I spent some time prior to this episode imagining how I might enjoy the metaverse, and I do think that, like, being able to gather in a virtual space with people that are on the, like you, on the other side of the country. We're doing this right now. Why wouldn't we just spend this time?
It's no different really from a Zoom meeting.
And that was one of my other notes on the
different version of that.
Yeah, that was one of the other notes I have on the doc, is like, what are the entry points to the metaverse? Like, where are we already sort of there? And Zoom calls, like Microsoft Teams, I think they're making a big investment in just virtualizing their meeting space. And so for companies, why wouldn't you just put on your goggles if you're sitting down to work from home? If a company's like, you can work remotely, but you're going to be on your goggles and you're going to be logged in, you're actually going to work in our virtual space here in this virtual office where we can sort of interact, not on Slack, but actually like talk to one another as avatars. I look at that and I'm like, well, I'm already staring at a screen for X amount, X hours of the day. Why wouldn't I just have goggles on and sort of make it a little more immersive?
So here, I mean, yes. And I feel like that might actually be better. A couple things. This is what Second Life was like 15 or 20 years ago.
You got to focus, my man.
I'm out of focus?
Yeah.
Like the camera?
Yeah.
How about now?
That's fine. It's still a little blurry. I mean, you as an individual are completely
Are you
focused.
trying to distract me? Because now I'm distracted.
There you are. Second Life.
I wasn't sure if you meant the camera or my train of thought.
It's usually
my
both.
Train of thought is definitely not focused anymore. Thanks.
1 out of 2. The 90% chance that one of those things.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, Second Life, already done it. And the thing that gets me is like what we're talking about. Like, just because Zuckerberg started calling this the metaverse, or he gets credit for making that popular.
Yeah.
Like, it's just the internet, man. We've all been in the metaverse since the internet was created. Yeah. And it's just different shades of internet.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, so now you experience the internet through a pair of goggles in a 3D interactive environment. Like, it's not a big deal.
No, I think you're right.
And we're all acting like this is like revolutionary or something. And it's not. It's just a different flavor of the same thing.
I got to ask this question.
It's cooler.
like while it's on my head, but how much
Yeah.
is Mark paying you? Just question.
Oh, I'm not allowed to talk about that.
You are, and ultimately, like I think you've brought me back. You've brought me exactly to where I probably would have gotten. And that is just that we are already sitting down, spending so much time on the internet. This is just the natural evolution, taking advantage of the technology that's available to us now. And it's becoming more accessible and cheaper. Just throw on goggles, and now everything you've been doing, now just experience it in a 3D world. Maybe you're going to end up spending the exact amount of time that you've always spent plugged in. It's just going to be more immersive.
Well, I mean, yes, and I think eventually it will get all the way to Wall-E and Ready Player One.
Yeah, Wall-E.
Where people just sit around and do nothing else. I mean, that's the inclination. And I mean, there are people who do this already. And I mean, to your point that, all of this makes us less human, I completely agree with that. People are still doing it voluntarily. I mean, I do it voluntarily. Like, oh no, I have my VR headset right here. I think what we need to remember is that all of this is about money. It is not about being human and making connections and having relationships, which one might argue is the point of life, right? When people are like, why am I here? Is it like to spend money in the metaverse? I don't know, maybe. I'm not going to answer that for you. But I mean, whatever science fiction book or movie or show you want to point at, like Ready Player One is about money, right? Ultimately.
Yeah.
With these companies creating real estate platforms in the metaverse, it's not for your betterment or the betterment of humanity. It's so that they can make money from it. Which, I don't know, no judgment. It just is. That's why all these games now have in-app purchases, which is the term I was looking for before.
You got there.
It's to make money.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that's different. I don't know, maybe it's no different. I was wondering, like, if back in the board game days, no, that was still about making money while entertaining you, right?
So, like selling a board game?
Yeah.
Of course. No, capitalism drove it all.
So, I mean, I don't know what that means, except it is a fact.
I think maybe no, and again, thank you, Jason. You're bringing up some really good points. That I think that is one of the issues that is at the heart of my resistance to the very concept of the metaverse, is that very obviously every aspect of our experience in the metaverse will be is going to be monetized. Our attention, where our eyeballs go, everything will be tracked.
What was that Tom Cruise movie?
Yeah, Minority Report. No,
the other dystopian future one where he like has somebody else's eyes installed.
Yeah, that was
Minority. Serving him ads. Was that Minority Report?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that was Minority Report. But was he getting served different ads? I don't even remember that part.
So he had to have an eye transplant.
Yeah, so he couldn't be found.
Eyes from like Mr. Tanaka or something. So every time he would look at like an ad poster, it would be like, "Hello, Mr. Tanaka. Would you?"
Man,
that is.
I missed that detail.
That is the real version of this virtual thing that we're entering into. So yes, everything will be personalized for you, just like it is now. Those ads are just going to be served to you in a different way.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Will probably make you want to buy things more.
What am I complaining about? I'm already in it. Yeah. It's exactly. I just come back to that point. It feels like there will be more touch points now. There will be, because it's 3D. There will be more personal data that will be monetized. More of my personal data.
So yeah,
it's going to.
And the fact that it is more immersive will make it more convincing.
Yes.
Which means people will spend more money.
Yeah.
Wait. I'm sorry. I keep interrupting you.
No. Listen, started. I've talked a lot, so go.
So a couple things. One, I want to go back to this game called Second Life.
Yeah.
But before that, have you played many online games? Because I've played a fair number.
Yeah.
Like since I think the first. Oh, you've played Fortnite?
Oh yeah.
Oh, you're so young. No, I've never even played Fortnite. So the first online game that I was addicted to is a game I played right out of college, basically. So this is 1999 on dial-up. Ultima Online.
Okay.
So it's a massively multiplayer, kind of Dungeons and Dragons world. So there is the land, right, called Sosaria, I think. And there's a map for it. It is finite. There are boundaries, there are land masses. You can buy and place homes on it. You can fill your home with things that you find and buy and that other people make. Does this sound familiar yet?
Yeah.
When that world got too crowded, when there was no more space for land and that sort of thing, and everyone got mad about it, what do you think they did?
They expanded.
They made a mirror.
Huh.
So there were two identical lands.
Really?
And this one, the new one, is like unexplored. And so what happened is like everybody rushed into that.
Sure.
So, I mean, this goes back to the whole value thing. Like, okay, it's finite right now, but is there anything from preventing these companies that run their metaverses from just duplicating stuff? It's essentially printing money. Mm-hmm. So that's going to devalue the land that you just paid for.
Well,
are there any controls over that?
I think that's a great question. That's possibly where, like free market sort of forces may take over. You will probably see companies experimenting with things like that. And then they will note consumer reaction. And if consumers are like, we know what you're doing, that's BS that you just did that. We're dumping all your, we no longer value your thing because we can see what you're doing.
That'll never happen.
Some
people will get mad.
Some people
people who doubled the metaverse will make twice as much money.
Yeah. I mean, it all sort of remains to be seen. What I'm very interested in as we move into this space are virtual avatar rights. Like, to what extent can you interact with another avatar and negatively impact that other person's experience in the metaverse? Griefing? I'm sorry, what?
It's called griefing.
Is that what it's called?
Mm-hmm. What does that mean? Hassle somebody else in the virtual world?
Oh yeah. So what sort of like laws will exist? What sort of systems will be in place to prevent that kind of thing? Because on Twitter, you tweet back and forth to someone and you can get flagged. But like, what is that? What is that policing going to look like in the metaverse, where I can I swing and like physically make contact with your avatar? And if you're wearing the HAP suit, is that what it's called? The Hapmatic suit?
Yeah.
And you feel that thing in Ready Player One, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you could, in certain areas of Ready Player One, like if you engage in a game, that opening like race game, if you died and you didn't make it to the end, like you lost all your coin, or you lost like the things that you accumulated in that space, which had value, had real value. So in the metaverse, like, can you interact with a person such that their avatar suffers in some way, like monetarily? And if so, like, what safeguards are going to be put in place? What sort of community guidelines are going to be put in place to make sure that the worst of humanity doesn't emerge? Because it emerges on every platform that has come out. Every guaranteed. Social media platform brings out the worst. Not only that, but then you have like, how do you verify that an avatar is tied to like a person, or like one avatar is tied to one person? Is there a 1-to-1, or are you going to have bots roaming the metaverse that influence people's decisions?
I hadn't even thought about.
You know what
bots,
I mean? So like,
that'll for sure be a thing.
For sure. Like, I thought of like, is there going to be, there's going to be a movie that's like a murder mystery that takes place in the metaverse. Someone's avatar gets killed and there's like real world consequences to it. And you have like a digital Sherlock Holmes who has to figure out that, you know what I mean? Like that crap, like that Hollywood.
Are you writing
story.
this down?
I am. That Hollywood story will exist because it's going to pave the way, just as Ready Player One paves the way for the metaverse itself. The very nuances and the interaction of humans within this virtual space, it's going to mimic a lot of what happens in the real world. You know, someone a fender bender, and like guns are drawn. You know, just all that crap.
Right. And the more open, in air quotes, the world is, the more that's going to be a problem. Now, so interestingly, to go back to the Ultima Online thing, the other reason they created this mirror world was because in the original one, the rule set was very open. You could like walk up to another character and kill them, like without warning.
And that was it. That other character had to start over.
No, I mean, you just die and all your stuff would fall on the ground and you'd like respawn somewhere else and they would rob you. I mean, it's like the real world.
That's
right?
The Wild West.
People could also steal from you without killing you. Like you could be a pickpocket and just walk up to someone and take their stuff. And, you know, it's a game, right? So there's some chance that you will catch that person.
Yeah.
But it's mostly up to your street smarts.
Wow.
How well you can get through this world.
Yeah.
It turns out that it was like too real. So in this mirror world they made, there was a stronger rule set where you couldn't do basically negative things, or at least physical things.
There you go.
To another character.
I'm going to tell you right now, the first complaint that's going to happen in the metaverse will be sexual in nature. You're going to have so much harassment happening in the metaverse. That will be the first thing. And then it's going to be this line between what is the age of a kid in the metaverse, and the interaction between an avatar represented by a kid and that of an adult, and that interaction, and what are the real world ramifications of some adult preying on a child in the metaverse. Like that will be the first thing that emerges. The first
that's going to be
issue
tied.
In the problem.
I mean, it's kind of the same thing as now, right? That'll be tied to your account information.
So you're going to have FBI.
If there's a kid using their parents' account.
Yeah. You're going to have FBI agents who are posing as 13-year-olds in the metaverse trying to get, you know, sexual predators to hit on them in the metaverse. And then there'll be a real knock on the door. You know, like all of this is going to happen. The worst of humanity will just happen in the metaverse.
So it's not the worst, though. It's just that humanity will happen in the metaverse.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All of it.
The good and the bad.
Yeah. All of it. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Yes, Peter. I've read this is a non sequitur. There was a guy who went to one of these like Comic-Cons dressed as Uncle Ben, and he went around Comic-Con dying in front of all the Spider-Men, which is hilarious.
That's genius.
It's so fun.
Give that guy a gold
That's
star.
The best of humanity right there. That's it.
Yes.
You know, just having fun. So I'm not ready.
Yeah, it's going to be the same thing.
Yeah.
Just different. Less resource intensive.
That is, yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. Just like NFTs are.
Yeah.
By the way, so, you know, I'm actually working. I'm sort of on the side working on launching an NFT, like just for the hell of it. I've got some ideas in mind, and I'm just going to see like what it is to do. What does it mean?
Yeah.
And what can come of it. And so because in the last episode, I was pretty anti NFTs, or just like, I don't get it and I don't want to get it. The fact that I'm now at like, okay, this is kind of cool. Like, let's just see what can happen.
When people start buying them, you'll be like, oh, I get it.
All in. Yeah. And I fully anticipate that the Oculus goggles that you sent me that are sitting right next to me right now that I have yet to put on because I am deathly afraid.
Well, so be careful.
Deathly afraid.
Once you put them on, you can never take them off.
That is the problem. That is what I'm so afraid of. But I am going to get over that fear. I'm just going to embrace it. Like you have pointed out to me, and I really thank you for this. It is just the internet. It's just the internet. It's just 3D internet. That's really all I have to see it as. And I think it could be a lot of fun to like interact virtually with someone from, you know, Romania or something, like in a cool digital space in a way that I might not otherwise, because there's a centralized area, a sandbox, if you will, where people are coming together to figure out their next move. And this would be a new way to experience those people and just be like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm so and so, I'm from wherever, or create my own identity, I guess, which I have sort of conflicting
That's a
thoughts
choice
about.
you must make.
Yeah, I have conflicting thoughts about that. It's like, do I want to misrepresent myself? Like, what did Alex say on the episode last week, on the NFT one? He was like, look, when you go to a party, like, aren't you wearing a mask?
You put on your mask.
Yeah, you put on your mask. You're a different person in every sort of scenario. I like to think that I try to be my authentic self in every scenario. Yes, maybe I have like the guardrails on with regards to
an avatar is
a
much more literal mask.
Yeah, but I'd like to think that when Ready Player One, people jumped in and they were just completely like off the chart, unique alien suits or whatever, and had different names, and they had almost no attachment, but on purpose, to their real person identity. That was almost the point.
Yeah.
And I just don't know if I'm ready to do that. It's like I kind of want to just go on and be I'm still figuring out who I am as a person in many ways. Like, I'm not sure I'm ready to invent a whole other one. And God bless you once again, sir.
This is great audio.
It is. This is real life, people. Will we
Not
have
COVID? Not COVID.
will we have metaverse sicknesses? I mean,
I just have like a tickle in my tonsil.
Like if a virus gets out in the metaverse and it it warps like everyone's avatar.
That's going to be what I'm
like
doing in the
metaverse. Yeah. Like everyone loses an arm, who's infected by the virus, and you can't interact with
everyone will just frown all the time.
Yeah. Like we will be there for sure. Dating. So I saw that Match Group, I think it was behind Match.com, is sort of going all in on the metaverse and envisioning people will, go to virtual bars. This is where the sexual harassment
could
come
go
in.
wrong.
Yeah, just go to virtual bars and real audio, so you're engaging, which I think all of the metaverse will be. You will speak into the goggles, and your voice will come out in the metaverse. That's a no-brainer. Yeah, that's that's a no-brainer. Dating or meeting people in the metaverse. But again, it's like, there's a real world experience that comes with being in physical contact with a person that you've become attracted to, that the metaverse.
Well, and what are you going to do with your appearance?
Yeah, exactly. Like,
you'll be an avatar, right?
Yeah, it's like people take a lot of crap for posting pictures on their dating app that doesn't reflect who they are in real life, and then you meet up and they're like, dude, what the hell? Like, you totally.
Now it'll just be implicit.
Yeah, it's anyway. It's interesting. There's a ton of hype. There's a real estate boom. I'm not ready to like buy real estate yet in the metaverse.
You should. It's only going up.
It's only going up. That's just not where I'm like putting my hard-earned dinero, but maybe it is exactly where I should be putting my hard-earned dinero.
I mean, like, would you have, bought any tech stock like when it IPO'd?
Exactly. Totally. Like, I think about it right now. If I could go back in time, totally. This is it. This is the thing that
you should go into. Well, here's the thing though. They're different metaverses. So you're going to have to bet on the right one potentially, but take all of your money.
Yeah. All of it.
And put it into virtual property.
Are you hearing us, listener? Sell your physical house.
Yeah.
And
leverage
buy
everything.
For everything. You will no longer need to live in that house. You will have a shipping container and you will be happy.
Yeah. And also just to note, Ben and I are not financial professionals, and we are not giving financial advice. You should not listen to anything that we say.
Thank you for that disclaimer. I'm gonna put that at the front.
Got that one.
I'm gonna earmark that, and that'll be at the front of every episode moving forward.
from now on.
Yeah, we're gonna have a lot of disclaimers.
Do you want to talk about Second Life?
Yeah, real quick. Let's do it.
To close, we'll bring it back around. So I don't have any kind of research up right now, but Second Life was like a big deal here in Silicon Valley around like 2010, if I remember correctly, 2008, 2010. It was a metaverse. It was billed as the future of the internet and the next big thing, and a place where people could go to construct whatever they want, create economies, and buy and sell things. Companies were going to meet, in virtual spaces. You could go to a virtual movie theater and watch a virtual movie with your virtual friends and all this stuff. And I think it was just too soon, but it is exactly what we are talking about now.
Yeah.
You could have wings. and fly around. And like
Yeah.
it's already been done. Maybe the internet bandwidth just wasn't there.
I think, yeah, I think the bandwidth wasn't there, and then the buy-in from all the other companies. And what Facebook has going for it is user base. It transitions into the metaverse with, billions of people with Facebook accounts.
It's kind of genius because this is also Facebook.
Yeah. They have
They
everything.
just have closed the loop
Yes, they
on
have.
owning the future of humanity.
Yes, they have. Too much power. Too much power.
All given voluntarily.
To the listener, our Maker Minute is just a movie. It's Ready Player One. I'm sure most of you have watched it, but I have encountered many people in my life who have not yet watched it. So I think it is required viewing for everybody on the planet. And this isn't meant to enrich Steven Spielberg, but just because this is kind of maybe where we're headed, or it seems to be the template for
100%
the companies.
guarantee that's where we're headed.
Yes, shipping container. Just embrace it. Embrace your shipping container. You will love your shipping container, and you will be happy. Ready Player One. You know how to find movies wherever you find movies.
Yeah.
And Jason, it won't be long, sir, until we are doing this through our VR goggles. Until then, we will stay 2D. Always a pleasure.
Ben.
Oh, no.
There must be ones already, but this should be a Metaverse podcast.
Yeah, okay, let's do that.
Okay,
let's make it happen.
Figure out how to do it.
Let's make it happen. Listener, you will join us. You will join us to the first Metaverse I'm No Expert podcast.
I don't even know what that means, but we're going to do it.
I'm Ben. I'm still in 2D, and I'm no expert.
I'm Jason. I'm also still in 2D, sometimes 3D. I'm no expert. We'll talk to you guys soon, virtually, or maybe in real life. I'm so confused right now. We should just stop.
Bye-bye.